Department of Transportation has launched an investigation into the nation's 4 largest U.S. airlines in an effort to protect consumers from deceptive business practices. In a statement released yesterday by the department, airlines may be using points devaluations and other accounting techniques that are not consumer friendly in their frequent flyer and credit card reward programs. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg sent letters to American, Delta, United, and Southwest Airlines requesting they hand over records with information about their policies. And Secretary Buttigieg joins us live from Detroit. We're going to get into the executive order that President Biden is set to unveil there later today. But I first want to talk to you, Mr. Secretary, about this airline investigation. I want to add on, you really ought to look into Wi-Fi and getting charged multiple times on planes, but that's just me, maybe. So you've named the airlines here. What is going on in the frequent flyer programs?
Yeah, so for what it's worth, we also have a new rule so that if you pay for Wi-Fi and you don't get it, you get your money back. We could talk about that another time. But today's action really is about making sure that we're protecting the value of these points and miles. We love our points and miles. They've really become an important part of the economy in many ways. They're an important part of the airline's business, and many families view them as part of their savings. You count on them as you're saving up for a vacation. But unlike the dollars in your savings account, the value of your points and miles could be changed at any time by an airline, really for any reason. And that's what we're concerned about. So this is a hard look at the practices around these points and miles. We're hearing a lot of stories about them being suddenly devalued, or you go to book a flight and there's just no way you can actually use these points and miles. And it's especially important because people are being told you can use this to pay for your next vacation when they're signing up for credit cards. Sometimes credit cards that have a high annual fee or a higher annual percentage rate than other credit cards. We want to make sure that anything going on in this area is transparent, that it's fair, and most importantly, that passengers, consumers get the deal that they were promised.
Mr. Secretary, I have another question on the delight, the nightmare that is commercial air travel in America today. This has been a summer of cancellations and massive delays on flights, and I'm wondering, is it the lack of pilots? Is it the lack of air traffic controllers? Is it the lack of ground crews? Or is it just the mediocre aspect of the airlines that people travel?
Well, there's a lot of ingredients that go into those headaches. Weather has been a big one this summer, but we've also pressed the airlines to be better able to service the schedules that they're selling. Now, in all fairness, they've definitely improved their results. Last year was the lowest rate of cancellations we've seen in about a decade, but it doesn't feel that way if you're on one of those canceled flights. It's happened to me. That's one of the reasons why with flightrights.gov, the new rules and the protections we're putting in, we're making sure that if that does happen to you, you at least get taken care of. That means that you have to have clear expectations around when they'll pick up your hotel or your ground transportation, how to get rebooked, making sure that you get your money back automatically, which is new this year, if your flight gets canceled, because we had way too many cases where you have to fight just to get money that the rules say should already be coming back to you. And we're going to keep pressing on a number of these different measures to improve passengers' experience, because these frustrations have really been mounting for years, and I believe in using the tools of government, the tools of our department, to deliver a better experience for passengers.
Also, as we mentioned, President Joe Biden is going to be traveling to Michigan today to unveil a landmark executive order to support America's workforce. Dubbed the Good Jobs Executive Order, the plan sets new labor standards across the board. And to make sure those standards are met, the executive order also creates a new task force to oversee the changes. What kinds of changes specifically are we talking about, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to serving on this task force that the president is putting together. It's the first time that there's been a government-wide executive order like this, laying out the different steps that we all need to be taking across our agencies to make sure that the jobs we're creating with all these programs like the infrastructure bill are good-paying jobs. That includes a safety element, looking after the safety provisions there, things like prevailing wage and making sure that those requirements are actually being met. And it's It's things like project labor agreements, which are an important tool that can help many projects go more smoothly and deliver the kinds of community benefits and worker benefits that are expected. And look, this builds on work that President Biden's been leading really from day one. That pension, the Butch-Lewis Act, the Pension Act that really saved pensions for millions of workers, is a huge deal. So is the update to construction wages, prevailing wage, Davis-Bacon. All of these things that unions have been trying to get done for a long time, but really encountered a lot of hostility during the Trump administration to anything that they were trying to do for workers. This is a new day, and this is about really putting that down in black and white so that it's not just something that you see as one initiative from one president, but just a new way of doing business in this country.
Mr. Secretary, I was going to ask about unions. We've seen unions have quite a day in the United States over the course of the last year or so. Is this executive order meant to cover workers who are not covered by unions? Is it meant to work alongside what unions are doing? Is it replacing union work to some extent? How does the two work together?
Yeah, it's really building on this record of supporting unions, and that does mean making sure that union workers get a fair voice in these processes. That's part of what you get through project labor agreements. But you mentioned something else that's important, which is so many workers who are not benefiting from being part of organized labor right now, but they want to be. In my field of transportation, for example, many workers in transportation are famously unionized, of course, whether you're talking about Teamsters, airline pilots and flight attendants, or any number of other fields. But if you think about a lot of other workers who don't have those protections, they're some of the most vulnerable. For example, when you get on a flight, before you see the flight attendant and the pilot who are unionized, chances are you're going to cross paths with somebody pushing a wheelchair who isn't. And they are among some of the lowest paid workers in our aviation system. And yet there are some of those who would benefit the most from that kind of support. And, for a lot of passengers, they can't get where they're going without them. People are involved in the preparation of food. There's a new contract for workers at Gate Gourmet, but there are others who don't have those kinds of benefits. And so we need to make sure through things like this executive order that we're looking at ways to support them in their desire to exercise their legal right, that free and fair choice to join a union, and just working to make sure wages are higher across the board so that every worker can benefit from the economic growth that's going on in this country right now.